started when I was in high school and growing up in Turkey, which was in economic trouble at the time, but also under a military dictatorship. So I was wondering whether these two are related, and that drew me to a few writings I could get my hands on, asking questions about democracy, dictatorship, politics, and economics. And those were the sort of questions that drew me to economics and were also the motivation for wanting me to study economics within the broader context of social science issues.
Our first child was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at birth. My wife and I decided we wanted to move to microbiology department at a major medical school. So we moved to the University of Iowa. I continued to work on marine luminous bacteria, and a colleague of mine had just come back from Rochester, New York, where he was doing a sabbatical for a weekend, and he told me that the lab he was working in had discovered a transcription factor that looked like the one that was controlling light production in our luminescent bacteria. And this was in a bacterium that causes infections of lungs of cystic fibrosis patients. And all of a sudden I was working on a pathogenic bacterium that lived in the lungs of my daughter. And that changed the direction of my research.
You know, when I first became interested in these issues, I had the privilege and the pleasure of having my dad around, and I had many opportunities to talk to him, and I think he was the first inspiration for my sort of thinking in these areas, and I'm grateful that he supported me in my explorations and encouraged me to be an independent thinker. And when I entered economics, I was, of course, heavily influenced by the leaders of our profession, people like Ken Arrow, Paul Samuelson, who I had the pleasure of having the office next door to for almost a decade when I was at MIT in the 2000s, I guess.
One trait that was exhibited by both Nielsen and Hastings and also Wilson that I find inspiring. They weren't afraid to see something everyone else sees and think of it in a new way, even if it butted up against current scientific dogma. So I guess the term for that is thinking outside the box. So lots of different people professionally inspire different things in me. Personally, well, I already mentioned my daughter, and she was an inspiration. She bravely faced unspeakable challenges that far outweigh anything I've ever had to face. And, I take courage from that, I think.